Do you like or dislike politics? Do you have your favorites, or are you disgusted by some politicians? There are too many parties, fractions, movements, and initiatives. People are divided into countless groups opposing each other. But I cannot get rid of the idea people do not understand what does it all actually mean. Plato defined government methods some 2400 years ago. Plato correctly defined that one individual can easily make one's way through. The larger the group of decision makers, the more complicated the way to consent. In Plato's view, good king is the best and bad king the worst form of government, followed by oligarchy and finally democracy. Worst of the good, but best of the bad forms of government. I think Plato defined very correctly what makes government good or bad. Its distinction between freedom and compulsion, law or no law, compliance or non-compliance with written or commonly accepted law, poor and rich, are they treated equally or differently? Nowadays, most people divide politics into left or right. A couple of years ago, I saw this picture. It shows the politics divided into left and right halves, like buttocks turned up. There is a stable area on the left and on the right. The more you move to extreme left or extreme right, the higher the probability you slip out of the political scene. This picture does not explain what does it mean to stay left or right. It explains that extreme political attitudes are very likely to be not acceptable. And in the middle, there is a lot of pressure, dirt, and stink. It is almost impossible to move anyway. Many of our politicians say they stay in the middle, so good luck for them. The political compass uses two-dimensional rating: freedom, libertarian, authoritarian, economy, left, right. There are other models as well, more dimensional and more complicated. What is freedom? Wild animals live free. They do all what is necessary to survive. Many animals even care for their offspring. Being absolutely free means being responsible for own survival and for survival of own genes, using any means. On the other hand, we have animals kept in cages. Their lives are completely controlled by people. In between, there are many variations of control and fake freedom. Can we apply the same on people? Since thousands of years, we do not live like animals. We have laws, written or at least commonly accepted. Let's call them moral. The first laws were respect to other lives and to others' property. Individuals who did not respect the laws used to be expelled from their groups, later called criminals, and executed or put to jail. Let's assume the minimum legal regulation is protection of life, health, and property of any individual. That is neither chaos nor anarchy, but order and discipline. The more compulsory things we are forced or are prohibited to do, the more we move towards authoritarian society. On the top, we achieve total control over other people, slavery. How about economy? Left, we have collective or state ownership, and right, private ownership. The difference is not only in ownership, but also in interference of the state with the economy. It is decision-making process and related responsibility for measures taken. An individual will always do what is in his or her eyes best for him or her, and takes responsibility for own decisions, if only an individual is free to do it. A group of people has always to find a compromise. The larger the group, the harder to find a compromise. Individual interests will be not tolerated by other group members, Great inventors would never get support from collective leadership. They would be silenced. In principle, to have private ownership is the same as to have freedom to own property and to do with your property what you consider best. Every state regulation or intervention into this freedom represents oppression. Left policy, or as we usually call it, socialism, means authoritarian oppression of individual ownership rights, rape of market mechanisms. The more left, the more state regulation, interventions. In other words, left, we have fully state-controlled economy, right, free economy. We can go back to political compass and substitute left with authoritarian and right with libertarian. There are not two dimensions, but only one: freedom or slavery.